I'm going to open the Select Board meeting for April 9th, 2024, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first order of business is the reorganization of the Select Board. So at this time, I would accept nominations for chair.
Mr. Manager, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to make Patrick Holland the chair of the Select Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Manager, I'll make a nomination for James Mackey for chair.
Is there a second to that nomination?
I'll second.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, we have two nominations in 2 seconds. I'm going to go around to each board member and ask them how they vote and who.
Point of order.
Chair. Yep.
Before they vote, would it be amenable to the board to hear a 2-minute elevator pitch from the two nominees to the board about why they feel they would be the better chair?
Are each of you interested in making a 2-minute pitch?
Sure. I don't know the 2 minutes required, but
Okay, so why don't we start with Select Board Member Mackey?
thank you very much. After coming off of an election on Saturday and 2 years of studying at Mr. Johnson's elbow, if you will, I've kind of been working towards this. I believe I've got a strong handle on the situation at this point. And I have I've put the time in over the last 3 years, both with the staff and with Mr. Johnson to learn the ropes. So I will leave it at that.
Mr. Holland, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think I have the experience in being the chairman of the Conservation Commission for 5 years. So I think I have a handle on how to run a meeting and how to control a meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go to each member and see who they would vote for and determine if we have enough votes for either of the individuals. Mr. Crappen, how do you vote?
Patrick Holland.
Mr. Mackey?
I would vote for Mr. Holland.
Mr. Ryder?
Patrick Holland.
Ms. Wellman?
Patrick Holland.
Mr. Holland?
Patrick Holland.
Then it's 5-0 in favor of Mr. Holland as chairman. And we will turn the meeting over to Mr. Holland. You probably want to switch
Your
seats
Okay, we're going to do that.
and take over.
There's no hammer. We need a gavel for you.
There's a gavel around here somewhere.
Congratulations, Mr. Holland.
Congratulations. I'll go with that.
Hydrate or dihydrate, that's what I always say.
Thank you all for that show of support. Up next is going to be nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a nomination for Mr. Crappen for vice chair.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for James Mackey for vice chair.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, do we want to go through the same process as we did previously? And that is a 2-minute spiel.
We already heard from Mr. Mackey.
Mr. Crappen, would you like to say a few syllables?
No, I've served, I've been on the board long enough. I think most people know my credentials.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Mr. Ryder, how do you vote?
Mr. Crappen.
Ms. Wellman,
Mr. Mackey.
Mr. Mackey,
Myself.
Mr. Crappen,
I'll vote for Mr. Crappen.
and I'll vote for Mr. Crappen as well. That would be 3-2 in favor of Mr. Crappen. Congratulations, Mr. Crappen. Now we'll entertain a motion, nominations for the secretary.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for Eric Ryder to be clerk of the Select Board.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? Hearing none. Mr. Kratman, how do you vote?
Mr. Ryder.
Mr. Mackey?
Mr. Ryder.
Ms. Wellman?
Mr. Ryder.
Mr. Ryder?
Mr. Ryder.
And the chair votes for Mr. Ryder as well. So
Doctor?
we're all set with that.
Glad I'm not
Yes,
sick.
yes.
Mr. Point of order, Mr. Holland?
Sure.
For the recording secretary, when there are votes, reminder to say who they are.
Okay. All right. We have a 705 Origin Thai Bistro LLC, new common vic license, new owners. Is there anybody here for that? Seeing none. Everybody has any comments? You all have the paperwork in front of you? Any issues with anybody?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Through you to the manager, I thought we already had these folks in front of us just recently.
It's transfer of ownership.
It's a brand new, okay. That's very quick. Okay.
Okay, the 1,500 square feet, and it employs 3 people. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the common vic license for the new owners of Origin Thai Bistro at 1699 Shawshene Street.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Kratman made the motion to approve. Ms. Wellman made the second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing nothing opposed, that is approved. Next on the agenda is we've got a couple minutes, but I think we can start at 7:10. The YMCA, you can get yourself settled. Anybody here for the YMCA?
While they're doing that, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 13, 2024, and March 12, 2024.
Do I have a second?
We have March 19th as well.
I was just, and 16th. I just did 2, but I don't know.
Okay.
We can take them as a friendly amendment. We can approve all of the minutes. Yep, that's fine.
Well, if it's for all 3 of them, I second the motion.
Yeah.
For February 13th, March 12th, March 16th, and March 19th?
Yes. Yeah, 4. Oh my God, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please signify. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'll
Hearing
abstain.
none? Chair votes aye. Oh, you're abstaining?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda, it's 7:10, the YMCA. How are you? Can you introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, sir. My name is Randall Cassidy.
My name is David Dunn.
And so we are here in response to a proposal we've made to,
Can you move the microphone just a little bit closer so the people at home can hear?
is that better? We're here in response to a proposal we've made to run programming at the Tewksbury Rec Center. I did put together a little bit of a presentation, and honestly, most of it was for this one slide. This slide is contact information for those of us who will be helping to run their actual program there. Not necessarily the instructors, but my name's Randall, as I said a second ago. I'm the senior program director. I oversee basically all programs that involve kids at the Y, but also I'll be overseeing the programs at the rec center, even though there'll be some adult program in there as well. David is here with us today. He's our assistant family and camp directors, and Ashley can't be here today, but she's also going to be involved in a lot of the planning that's going on. These guys will slide out during the summer because they help run Massapog. I'll be out there as well, but I will keep an oversight during the summer, along with whoever we eventually hire to be a camp director for us out there this summer as well. So I wanted to go through a few questions that I knew were kind of in people's minds and things like that. One of them is what activities we'll be offering at the rec center this, at least here in the late spring into the summer. We have confirmed with our health and wellness director that we will be able to offer adult cardio and adult yoga classes in the evening. We do have the ability to offer some Zumba as well, she said, but those are going to have to wait until we get a flooring change there. The carpet that is currently there isn't great for our seniors to do things because they tend to slide their feet, and that's a trip hazard, as well as Zumba. So hopefully when we get the flooring, I know that's scheduled actually to be taken care of in July. That'll allow us to offer more in the adult fitness classes. Youth fitness classes, we have instructors tentatively lined up for some visual arts, some during the day, some toddler kind of music and movement classes, possibly soccer skills and basketball skills classes. Again, dance was I had an instructor in place for dance, but that flooring is preventing us from being able to run that right now. So that's on hold until we can get that taken care of, but we're excited for that. We are also looking at starting in the fall, running some monthly kind of events kind of thing. So in September, we have Grandparents' Day. So we thought having a Grandparents' Day kind of event at the rec center where we have some crafts, have some snacks, have some activities and things like that for grandparents to come in and do things with their grandchildren. Also in October, we could run a kind of a costume party sort of thing, not Halloween nights or even, when the designated trick-or-treating night is, but in that time frame to have some things. And as we go through the months, we will schedule other things as we find like how they connect. We do look for feedback on these things and ideas from that. In particular, the youth classes, one of the instructors we have already is because we've put up a posting on the YMCA website listed, it's called Tewksbury Program Instructor. We've already had a couple of applications, and one of those is someone who actually the idea to do the toddler movement music was born out of her skills. We encourage anyone who has ideas or wants to apply to help us instruct some programs to go to the YMCA, Greater Lowell YMCA website, and they can go under employment, and they can find the listing that says Tewksbury Program Instructor, sign up there, and we can contact them and talk to them about what programs they think they might be able to help us run. Also, we're looking at running a summer day camp program. If this schedule, I specifically put tentative schedule in there. If somebody comes to me in the summer and says, why are we not following the schedule? I may look at them like they have two heads because I don't have a director in place. I don't have anything in place. I just wanted to show a basic outline of what it could possibly look like. 5 to 6 activities a day. At the facility there's a splash pad. There are plenty of fields. There's the hiking trails across the road. There's several things that we can do at that place, at the rec center and in the surrounding fields that we can do already, in addition to doing some things like field trips out and trips up to Camp Massapog where we could do swimming in the lake and some things like that as well. So we were looking at running a kind of a 7-week program this year, so that began after 4th of July week, so that we would have a very tight I'd rather in the early stages run it tight and well than stretch it out and it'd be a little wobbly on the ends, if that makes sense. For those same reasons, we're looking at like an 8 a.m. start to a 5 p.m. finish. I know that's not convenient for every single family in terms of work schedule. However, I would rather run it well and a time frame that I can keep my staff there. I could use the same staff all day long in that 9-hour frame by giving them breaks, and I can have a well-run program. And for that same reason, we will probably start this program at 7 years old. So under 7 years old, I have different ratios I have to run for the Department of Health. At 7 and up, I have ratios that'll make us be able to keep the costs lower this summer. So that's very tentative what the summer program might look like. I know a question we've encountered several times is what about inclusion? How can we make sure everyone in our community is able to participate in these programs? And so one of the things I wanted to emphasize, and I know several people came already to a meeting we had, and so this may be repetitive to them, but the YMCA part of our mission for years has been to be for all. So we are aware of, physical issues, developmental issues, neurodiversity, medical issues, and even some kids have behavior issues that are related to some of those other things or may not be related to those things. And because of that, there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. And to do things right, we have to keep it small to begin with and things like that. So the best way to address this initially is to do it on a case-by-case basis. And that is, so I would encourage anyone who has an issue, they have a child who they would love to involve in a program we're offering, to reach out to us and have a conversation so that we can address the issue and find the best way we can help that child be involved. Because it's until we're there running program, we don't know how to address those issues, if that makes sense. So the best way is right now is to reach out to us and have a conversation, which I'll go back to that first slide I did, second slide I did that had our contacts. And I'll be happy to go back to that in a minute. And I invite anyone to take a photo of that slide so that they can reach out to us if they need to. Another question that I know has come up and people have wondered about, and that is whether the YMCA running program at the rec center is going to prevent other residents from being able to participate in events and activities in that area. And so we wanted to address that. The obvious answer to that is there's nothing we're doing that is going to block Tewksbury residents from being able to participate in programs at the recs, in the fields or splash pads or playgrounds or any of that stuff. We are contracting with the town for the use of the rec building for the purposes of offering programs to Tewksbury residents. This is a service we're trying to provide to the Tewksbury townspeople, and that's because for the Y of the USA gives Ys what they call a service area. And Tewksbury is one of our service areas. And so we're excited to be able to come into your community and be able to offer programming here instead of just inviting you to come to the Lowell Y and experience. So the purpose of us coming here is to provide programming to Tewksbury. So it's very natural to us that that's the natural outcome of that. Some of that is that when we do signups for those programs I showed earlier, those will be offered. The programs will be offered on a 7-week basis sort of thing. And we will have 2 weeks of sign up for Tewksbury residents. There'll be, if those programs aren't filled in those first 2 weeks, we'll have a week available for other YMCA members to sign up before the programming kicks off in those areas. There are, because I talked about, we have fields, we have sport courts and things like that. There are times that we would have kids in an area and we might have up signage that says, for the next hour, please respect that this area is being used by the YMCA for programming purposes. Something like that I would think about is if we were running a basketball skills program, right? That court we would prefer to be for YMCA participants, for program participants. If we're at the playground, we wouldn't put up a sign that says only our kids at the playground, right? We might say our kids are wearing wristbands so that our staff can track which kids are our kids. Same sort of thing at the splash pad. We're not going to say the splash pad is off limits to everyone while we're at the splash pad. We would have an identifier on our kids so that our staff can properly identify our kids at the splash pad. So I just wanted to make those things clear. I will go back to that screen that has the contact information. If anyone wants to be able to contact us, we're happy to talk through these things or answer any more questions, because I know that this is a large step for the community to be ready to run program again, and I know it's something that people are excited about. And I know people have ideas, and just as we were having conversations earlier with someone here, I welcome those ideas because, as I spoke, before we had that young lady contact us, I didn't know if we would be able to offer something like a toddler movement music class during the day. But having people come in with time and ideas allows us to offer more options. So that's quick and dirty.
Oh, thank you for that presentation.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, and I'll start with Mr. Kratman. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much for putting on this presentation. I really want to hear from the residents to see if there's any concerns. I know we've already had a meeting with a couple of community groups, but one of the things that I know and a couple of people have already reached out about the sign-up. Will they have to sign up on the YMCU website, or will they have to be able to that? We're talking about setting up a website on our own in the town of Tewksbury, because I know that'll be a question that residents will want to know. So we will have on our own website a link where people can sign up for these classes, get their children into the programs, and Tewksbury residents will have the first option to be part of this program. What is the time frame for that?
So I wish I had that laid out actually physically in front of me.
okay.
I know we're looking at the first round of programming starting May 6th, thank you. So the week prior to that, 1 week prior to that would be open to Tewksbury residents and YMCA members. The 2 weeks prior to that would be open to only Tewksbury residents and town employees. So I believe it's the 14th, this coming Monday, we'll have in place the programming for those first 2 weeks, only Tewksbury residents and town employees can sign up. Then for that final week before May 6th when it starts, YMCA members could sign up.
So I'm counting on a couple of people to get that word out there, that this has to be done, so the residents know. I know you mentioned the age 7 and over. I know we'll probably get the question, what if somebody is turning 7 a month after when the program begins? Something like that. Do you have to be 7 when it begins, or is it something that, like, there's a little bit of thing of if somebody is like 6 and 11 months and they're looking to sign up?
The health department doesn't care if they're 6 and 11 months.
Well, that's what I just want to know, because we will get those questions.
Yep, they would have to be 7 by the first day in the program.
Okay, so you have to be 7 at the beginning of it.
Correct.
Okay, so in case somebody is asking those questions. And when
It's
are you?
also a program that you'd be able to sign up for, week by week. You wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily be committing to the whole, so, if they turn 7 in August, they can go for August, right?
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And so when are you hoping to begin this?
So our goal right now is May 5th to start running those adult programs, and the week of May 6th, to be running the adult programs, those are evening classes, an evening yoga class and an evening cardio class. Visual arts is an evening class, colors and music would be during the day, starting that week. And we're looking at tentatively soccer skills and basketball skills being able to be offered during the week. I don't have a firm deadline on that, whether I can offer those in the afternoons is my goal, but that might have to shift to the weekends as well. My goal is to offer those in the afternoons, starting the week of May 6th.
Okay. Now, my next question is to the town manager. So if this is approved, we'd have to sign a lease with them for a certain amount of time. How long would that lease, is that what we're discussing?
Yeah, it'd be a 3-year lease. The way it would be structured, it'd be 1 year with an option to renew for 1 year at the town's discretion.
Okay.
And just to follow up on one other thing that Select Board Member Kratman mentioned, we are developing a link on our website for the signups, and we'll have that ready to go.
Okay. I'll leave the rest of the questions to my board, but thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mackey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Randall, David, great to see you guys again. Mr. Kratman did a good job of covering our previous meeting, so I won't belabor those points. Did want to clarify on one thing, Mr. Chairman, through you to the town manager. We're going to have a link that links back out to the Y website. We're not
Correct.
going to have our own portal for sign-ups.
Yeah, we don't have the capability of our own signup, so we'll link to the
That
Ys.
makes total sense, just the way it was presented. I wanted to make sure that that was clear for the residents, that we are not going to have a Tewksbury-only sign-up page. My only real questions are longer burn. Again, this is a great initiative. I'm glad we're able to partner with you guys on this, but some of the longer burn questions are, in the future, exploring adult classes, adult leagues for sports, if we're looking at volleyball or something like that. These are just things that I've heard people ask for, that people are going to Billerica for, or other communities. So making sure that, if it's not something you guys are planning on doing, again, not looking for an answer now, in the future, say a year or two, you guys are like, that's not something we're going to be considering, do let us know when you come to those conclusions so we can start looking for additional partners to fill that void.
Absolutely.
The only other comment would be, I know you mentioned a lot of non-sporting events, board games, card games, et cetera, in the past. And we have Batter Up here in Tewksbury, who is kind of a pillar of the nerd community that I am proudly part of. So I would definitely say if you're looking to do a lot of those things, definitely reach out to Jim Judge, who is the owner over there. And I think you guys can do a lot of good activities through that. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's it. Ms. Wellman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you here this evening. I joined remotely on your meeting previously, and I appreciate the effort and work that you've put in to make this accessible for the meeting. I apologize. Thank you for coming. I turned my microphone on. I also want to acknowledge Kate Boog-de-Gwilt and some of the other moms in the room who have been instrumental in bringing this effort forward with our community. Your work is appreciated. I'm looking at you, and this is a testament to the power of our residents and that this board stands behind for years, that people who bring initiatives forward will be heard and a process is followed, and then we come to a conclusion in a measured way. So I'm very excited about your work here for the community. I had a couple of questions and comments. Very briefly, I appreciate your approach on inclusion. That's very important here, and I've heard it from members of our special needs community. I am the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, and so I appreciate your leadership here, and particularly your individualized approach. And I had asked you about it before, and so this is fantastic. I wanted to just confirm that you don't have to be a member of the Y in order to sign up. This is
You
for
absolutely do
clarification.
not, yeah.
That's great. Can you tell me what your ratios are for the 7-year-old and up?
So in a summer program, according to the Department of Health standards for youth camping, you have to have one staff member per 10 children in the program, 7 and up. It's 1 to 5 if it's younger than 7.
Sure.
So it doubles your ratio, and if your child's in a program that has that, your younger kids are probably helping to pay for some of the older kids, you know?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, and that makes sense, and we want good supervision, and we want to start strong. So
yeah.
I appreciate that. How many do you think you can enroll in as you get going? Do you think you'll be able to expand capacity through the summer, or are you just going to start with?
So my initial
40
goal is 30 kids in the program. That
Okay.
allows me to do about 4 staff, a director, and 3 counselors, so that I can have one person who's what we call out of ratio to be able to answer phone calls, run check-ins, check-outs, anything, you know, clean up, things like that have to happen. So our original goal is 30. If we blow the doors off that in the first month, I'll look at hiring additional staff,
Okay.
you know, and seeing if we can expand that a bit, so.
Okay, all right, great. And are your tuition rates available yet?
They are not. I should have those ready within the next month. Again, I don't have a director in this program yet,
Right.
so what I pay staff is going to affect how I do those rates.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I hope to have that the next month or so.
Okay, so when folks want that information, they'll be able to visit the link on the town website to go out to your program.
Correct.
Thank
And
you.
we'll have flyers available in the community. You mentioned the folks with the Friends of Tewksbury Rec. We've had conversations with them. Alex has told us she'll help us get the word out through the town's website
Yeah.
and the library as well. So I'm sure we'll be able to get all that information
Yeah.
spread as wide as we can.
That's true. And it's also, I'll just make a plug for people to sign up to get news from the town website, because then once you get something and it's pushed out there, you just get an automatic email. You don't have to do anything. It comes to you. It's so easy. Go sign up. All right. Thank you very much. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Most of my questions have been asked, but I will ask, will you be offering sibling discounts, family discounts for families with multiple children looking to enroll?
Yeah. We currently offer, we have not considered sibling discounts yet for this program because we haven't set a price for it. For our summer program, we do currently offer it in our other programs, so it does make sense that we will. We haven't gotten that far down the tracks yet, but I could see that it's a very plausible thing considering we do that with our other programs.
Okay. And looking to start May 6th, when do you think you'll have that, the cost, just so parents can plan?
Yeah. So the programming that we're offering in the spring, these classes, we will have all that information out by the 14th. The 14th will be the first day that we can open registration for the residents. Before then, we'll get it to the town and stuff so that it can kind of go live on the 14th, if that makes sense. The summer programming information and prices and ceiling discounts and things like that, I would expect, I want that less than a month, but I would say within the month. So that we can have that information out. I can tell you right now, doing what we do with summer programming, there are people who already have their summers booked, did 2 months ago for some folks. So I know that we're going to miss some people just by the nature of this, but again, building things as we go, that's one of the reasons we're setting a low capacity this summer, as we know we aren't in the right place where we like to be when we're advertising programming, so.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the town manager, what is the capacity of the building?
That's a great question. I have to look at that.
Just,
Yeah. I'll have
just
to
for
double check that.
expansion purposes, if it is successful, and which I hope it is for the residents, I'm just concerned that if we don't want to get too big.
Yeah.
So, other than that, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. A lot of my questions are answered, but I do have a couple of more. You were talking about the fees. Now, you have discounted for families, you were saying, but what about for people who can't afford? Do you have some type of program for that?
I mean, it's, similar to what we were saying about the sibling discounts. All our other programs at the Y offer financial aid for those who can't afford the programs, for those who need it. And so that's definitely something we're looking at doing for these programs as well.
Okay.
And so that would include state vouchers. We tend to accept state vouchers if that's a program that the family already participates in. And then the YMCA itself does fundraising to help people who kind of fall in the middle line between can afford the program and are on state programs. There's a middle area, and so we do fundraising for that middle area as well.
Okay. And you already have accessibility for people with special needs. Now, your employees, your counselors, are they all Corey checked?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. What type of security? I mean, I know you just said they had the pink band on. Is there any more security? I mean,
So staff are trained with things like knowing head counts, doing names to faces, knowing who's in their program. And so when we're out in an area, a staff member is trained to keep account on where their kids are and who's in their program. Knowing boundaries, staff are trained to set up perimeters and keep kids almost like shepherds with sheep inside an area where they are. And like shepherds with sheep, if somebody comes in, we say, "Can I help you?" to make sure that it's not someone there. And so a child may come running up and say, "That's my grandpa," and we have to radio in and say, "Can you check and see if, Patrick's grandpa is able to pick him up?" Because mom might not have put grandpa on the sign-out sheets. So we make sure we check ID at sign-outs to make sure a kid is going home with the person who's supposed to be picking them up. When we're out and amongst the community like that, we keep an eye on our kids and keep them in areas where we can keep an eye on them all together, keeping lines of sights and things like that. So that's part of the training that staff would have to go through before they can help run programs.
okay, that was one of my concerns, and you answered that question. And you did the ratio, and are you planning any trips at all? Or you just, do you take a bus trip to Kennedy Lake Park or anything else like that?
Tentatively like this, I'm tentatively right now until I know I say this over and over again, but until I get a director in and talk to them and get their feedback, my thought right now is one time per week, this group could go to would take a bus trip up to Camp Massapog, which is part of our programming. That way they could swim in the lake and they could run an activity like archery one week, or canoeing one week, or hatchet throwing one week, those kinds of things, so that they get a participation in that. Another time during that week, I would like for them to be able to go to a state park or a public beach or something like that. So my thought right now with our summer program is once a week they could go to Massapog, once a week they could go to a low-cost, no-cost sort of field trip. That way we can keep rates low and the kids can not be in the same place all summer long if they tend to wind up in that program. That also allows us the availability of 2 days a week to be able to run some programming for adults at the rec center while the kids are away, if they can get away. So we're looking at that for flexibility in a couple of areas, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions I have. Mr. Montori, do we have to vote on this evening?
Yes, just because we want to get this going, if the board is comfortable, I'd like to have the board, get the board to vote in favor of awarding the contract for recreational programs and activities to the Lowell YMCA and to lease the recreation building to them for no more than 3 years and authorize me to sign the lease. Town council is drafting it as we speak to make sure we have all of our liability issues covered. And
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Ms. Wellman, second by Mr. Mackey. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Nice presentation. Okay, next on the agenda is 7:20. It's the Tewksbury Public Schools discussion on the reestablishment of the Facilities Committee. If you can introduce yourself and name and address for the record, please.
Oh, we get the wrong names.
See, now I can't
You-
screw up because they were going to blame him.
I gotta blame him.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm Brenda Terry Regan, resident of Tewksbury, on 6th Street, also superintendent. Caribbean, 1280 Road.
Yeah,
Well,
the
the
mics
mic's
aren't
not
on.
There we go.
There we go. Do you want me to do that again?
Let's well do it again so I
Along with the congratulations to our newest members to the Select Board and to you, Mr. Chair. I'm Brenda Terry Regan, resident of Tewksbury, 106 Pine Street, as well as superintendent of Tewksbury Public Schools.
Bridget Garabedian, 1280 Whipple Road, member of the Tewksbury School Committee.
Dave Libby, just an employee, business manager at the school department.
By the way, say
I'm
just.
thankful for you.
All right, the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Also with us in the audience, not sitting up at the table, are the members of our school committee, Mr. Richard Russo, Ms. Kayla Biagioni-Smith, and newest member, Mr. Christopher Moncada. We're here tonight to discuss the need to reestablish the School Facilities Study Committee. I'm going to refer to it as the SFSC as I go on, just to save a few syllables. This committee was formally established in November of 2011. The group was spearheaded after reviewing the information of the formerly known Long Range School Space Planning Committee from 2006. I've supplied you with some memory aids, some of the slides from the presentation the SFSC submitted to the board in 2012. In that presentation, you can see the mission statement of the committee and several recommendations. That's on page 37, 38. I spared you the entire presentation. Those were the recommendations the FSC made to the Select Board that eventually led to the construction of the Center Elementary School for all of Tewksbury's grades 2 through 4 students. Now we believe it's time to resurrect the SFSC again. First and foremost, we need to review and revisit our population of children here in Tewksbury and the impact on enrollment in our schools. Right now, we serve students in grades preschool through 12 and beyond through age 22 as needed. So we want to really look at that enrollment projection, not only for the immediate future, but for the next 2 to 10 years. Those numbers we receive annually from NESDEC. I didn't bring them tonight, but we review them regularly throughout the school year. We also recognize that we have 2 elementary school buildings, the Dewing and the Heathbrook, online currently educating our preschool through grade 1 students townwide and doing a great job, I might add. But they're nearing 60 and 70 years old, respectively. And as you can see from the 2012 presentation, both were among the original recommendations for replacement and major repair. So next, if we're to consider a reorganization of grade levels at each of our schools for efficiency of our buildings and the associated costs. This is logical thinking right now, and clearly a topic of discussion amongst the school department and town residents. So we've heard. We realize it requires us to also look at all of our schools' respective capacity and the repair needs and capital planning as aligned with educational services needed today in 2024. For example, electrical, HVAC, security systems, ADA compliance, support resources, and spaces for counseling, nursing, OT, PT, ESL, et cetera. So while student capacity in these aging schools, and what you can see in that report, I forget, I think it's maybe on page 6 and 7, show that the school's capacity when originally designed is around 450 and 650 respectively. Certainly things have changed quite a bit in educational needs in our school buildings since the time those schools were designed. I just want to also remind everyone, and it's hard to believe, some of us were part of the committees in the building of the Ryan and the renovation of the Wynn, but the Ryan is 25 years old now, and the Wynn the renovation is 24 years old. So it's important for us to look at the capacity of those schools as well as aligned with 2024 and future educational needs. I'm going to let Dave speak for a minute about some of the major renovations and repairs that we've done to the schools to keep them online, and then some of the short-term needs.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. Yeah, we've done a lot of major renovations to our buildings in recent years, some with assistance from town meeting, assistance from other funding sources as well. We've used grants, green community program monies. We tap into our revolving funds whenever we can as applicable. If we have areas of need in our gyms, we use our recreation funds that we get from our rec groups. If we have needs in our auditoriums and larger spaces, we tap our rental income. So we're doing as much as we can with the resources we have applicable to those needs. There's a lot to consider for this committee going forward, not just the capacity, but the grouping of the buildings. We average 12 classrooms per grade level, between 240 and 280 students. So you want to make sure that they fit in a space. If we do look at some sort of grade configuration and access to specialist spaces as well. So that's something we want to make sure that this group keeps in mind as we move down the road here, as well as future potential issues. PK, preschool for students is being discussed as a mandatory move in our state, as well as we have many out-of-district placements going on in our school, and we're finding many of our district schools that we try to place students at are at capacity. They can't take any more students. So there's definitely a need for space in some of those types of programs. So if there's a way to create some programming that would bring some of those students back into Tewksbury, I think that'd be an option we should definitely look into. But generally, our facilities are in good shape overall. Most of our buildings are, relatively new, and we want to make sure that we have appropriate facilities for the short term and the long term as we move down the road with this group.
Thank you, Dave. Well, you can see, and I'm sure you've been following a little bit on our school budget presentation. We've done a great job maintaining the schools based on our school budget, and certainly thankfully to the town of Tewksbury's support. We have certainly provided, to the best of our ability, state-of-the-art technologies, but we want to look at a sound plan for the SFSC during not only the next school year, we want to spend the next school year, not the entire year, but a portion of next school year, thinking forward for the following school year and the next 1 to 4 years, as well as long-term. So when we're making, hopefully when this committee is making recommendations, there's the immediate and then there's the longer term, because as I said, these aging buildings are needing more and more of our attention to keep them functioning, and we want to be obviously fiscally responsible with how much money we are putting into those schools in the interim. So you can see from the previous 2011 letter from the former superintendent, Dr. John O'Connor, and former school committee chair, Chrissy Palomino. I shared that letter with you. Again, as a memory aid, the school department accepted applications for the FSS, we really should probably come up with a better acronym, SFSC members, and chose members to nominate to the committee. From the applications, they submitted 3 at-large members with diverse backgrounds and educational training, 4 parents from the 4 elementary schools, selected from the respective town boards, obviously from the select board, the chair or designee was on the committee, the school committee chair or school committee designee, one from each of those town boards was on the committee. And there were 2 non-voting members, the town manager as well as the superintendent of schools. I would respectfully request, based on where we're at today, we follow the same process this time, but with these minor changes to the member requirements. Obviously, we want to maintain 1 member from each of the town boards, the select board as well as the school committee. We'd like to maintain nominations from the school department for parents of school-age children attending TPS. This time I would ask, though, 2 from grades PK through 4 and 2 from grades 6 through 12, as any decision to reorganize the school's grade composition may impact all or many of the schools. And I'd like to maintain 3 at-large citizens with preferred educational experience to fully be able to inform and understand the goings-on in a school building when we're talking about the different situations and details. As far as the non-voting members, I would like to maintain the town manager or his designee, maintain the superintendent of schools, and I'd like to add 2 other non-voting members, Mr. David Libby, the business manager, and Mr. John Marchand, our TPS maintenance foreman. While they're non-voting members, they're clearly just an invaluable source of information as to what we've already invested in the buildings and what is needed to be done moving forward. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the Select Board, I want to thank you for your time and consideration on this matter. We welcome your questions and/or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ryder, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that you're looking at not just facilities, but also looking at reorganizing the potential grades and the possibility of opening up current schools, also looking at potential additions versus a whole new school. And I think adding those 2, adjustment of the 2 groups of parents, I think will represent that well.
Thank you.
So that's it for now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this information. I appreciate the packet. I remember many of these people as back in the day. So, and I remember a lot of this work being done, and it was very good. I appreciate, as Mr. Ryder also said, your changes to the composition of the committee. I concur with that. I think it's really smart, especially particularly adding Mr. Libby and Mr. Marchand. Will you be doing educational visioning as part of this work, because that goes along with maybe any sort of reconfiguration and programmatical offerings?
Absolutely. I think that's why it's so important that the members at large understand the need for those. For example, we're so impressed today, we're at the Center Elementary School, and in that group space, there were teams of students working with a science expert on force and motion. So having availability of the support service spaces, as well as the visioning of what education looks like moving forward, it really takes more than just thinking about how many classes there are in the school. So yes.
And the programmatical space space and the group
Correct.
breakout space and how to better use hallways and yada, yada, all that.
How
Yeah.
many, I mean, it comes down to, we may have one art room in one of the schools, but if you're putting more, services and classrooms in there, will that be the right space for all of the students? So absolutely, I think from every corner of the building, we have to think that through.
Yeah, so it gives you also a real strategic look into how your programming is going to be and marrying that with the space that we have and the space that we might need.
Right.
And how to make those future recommendations. Do you plan to hire a designer like we had SMMA in 2005, 2006? Do you plan to go through any sort of a process to hire a designer to help with this? And if so, what's your budget?
So at this time, we're not asking for any funding. I think that would come out of the mission of this group, is to, if that were a recommendation. I believe there may be some funding left from the last FSSC, but certainly it's very minimal, if anything.
Like $1,500.
Yeah, that's enough to like run the procurement
Yeah.
paperwork and paste the ad, right?
So maybe, yeah.
Pay for the ad.
But at this point, we're not, that would obviously be part of the mission of this committee, as to what would that look like moving forward. So there's immediate, and then there's longer term, and I'm sure that would require the assistance of a designer or a firm like we used back in 2005 to 2006.
I mean, would NESDEC be able to help out? Are we, do we still have a membership with them? How does that
I
work?
don't know if that spans the capacity of their services right now, but they're
Okay.
certainly very helpful when it comes to programming and enrollment and all of that. But we can certainly
pieces.
see what they offer.
Okay, I appreciate that. I have no other questions at this time. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Mr.
could just
Mackey.
add one thing. I think just in thinking this through a bit too, I don't know if you would be open to the consideration. I think the committee would be open to 2 members in composition on that committee, if that's, the will of your committee. Just given the weight, I think, of some of this decision-making and the impact that it's going to have, for the students long-term.
Oh, that's really,
Just for
yeah.
your consideration.
Are you thinking for school committee, you'd have 2 members as well, sort of like 4?
I think I'm pretty sure I probably would have at least 2.
Okay.
I mean, it's a very forefront topic for everybody, so
Yeah.
I can't
No, I
imagine
agree.
anybody.
I agree.
Lots of planning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for all the great information. It was like you read my mind. My first question to the town manager was, do we have any data from the last committee? Do we know what the mission statement was, what the outcomes were? So I appreciate all the information. I'm a big data guy, so the fact that we're using data from 2006 is obviously not comfortable. So very supportive of this. The questions around budget, we'll address that later when the committee forms and actually figure out what its mission is. The only piece that I would like to see considered is use of school facilities for the non-school activities. I know there's been a lot of questions in the past couple of years about people being able to walk in the high school or opening up a school for use of volleyball or another sport. So just something, if we're looking at all the facility uses, something I'd like to see addressed in there. Otherwise, very supportive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to thank you for your leadership and your forward thinking. This is something that the residents are looking for us. I know we just got done building a new school, and you're already thinking about what are the needs already. We have aging facilities, but we also have budget crunches, as we know. So thinking ahead is the only way you're going to save money, of seeing how we can, work to move people from school to school, look at what we have for resources, and apply for as many grants that we can ahead of time. So we most likely would not qualify for something, since we just qualified for something recently when you're getting state funding. But when putting the plan ahead and having the best plan available, thinking down the road, looking what our needs are. I know the population of the students may be low now, but looking, at the younger grades, it seems like it's quite a bit higher. So you're planning for that, and I commend you for that. It looks like the class sizes will grow eventually, and we're going to need that room for them. And like I said, some of these buildings are pretty old, and, maintenance, care, while those children are in there, until we get money to be able to do something, is something that the parents are very concerned about, having their kids in these older schools and how we're going to keep them safe without all the requirements that are out there now with the new automatic doors and everything else that's out there. But I'm very supportive of this. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I appreciate that you're bringing a plan ahead now so that we can start working on it and have some time to work through the community and get the word out there, and then we can do what we need to as the future, whatever comes in front of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm up. Okay, thank you for the presentation. It's very informative, and I agree with Mr. Kratman and Mr. Mackey that we're looking forward is a good idea. My only question will be, when you form this committee, you have board members from different boards, members of the school, parents, and then you have the outside residents. I would like to see if you can encourage some seniors to be on this, because they're the ones that are footing the bill also. And I think their input would be very fruitful.
Okay.
So that's all I have. Do we need to make a vote on this, Mr. Montori, or are we?
Are you looking for a vote tonight? I thought maybe we should put the mission statement together.
Sure.
Get it in front of the selectmen for a couple of weeks, and then at the next meeting, vote on it.
Can I ask, one piece I could not find in the history, the posting of application for membership. Is that something that would come through the selectmen or through the school
Yes.
department?
Once the board approves the establishment of the committee, approves the mission statement, we would advertise through the selectmen's office, select board's office.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the manager, the appointments to that committee that are parents and so forth would still be the provenance of the school committee, is that correct?
All
Or they all
the appointments will be the select boards.
would be the select boards, okay.
Mr. Chair, I do have one follow-up question through you to the superintendent. Just for the residents to understand, is this a requirement so we're able to go for MSBA funding? Is this like step one in the process? Is this something they look at, that the town has done their due diligence prior to coming in and submitting an application?
I would not say it was a requirement. However, I think if the recommendation of this board was to move forward with a statement of interest, that would be the first step in that process.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that's going to be the recommendation. I don't know what will, I mean, again, I think what we're looking at is immediate. Not next school year, but immediately right thereafter. And then what about the long term? Because even if, as Mr. Kratman brought up, we propose, the committee comes forward with a recommendation and proposes a reorganization of grade levels in less buildings, let's just say, or with some repairs, whatever that should look like, that probably is the short-term plan, right? But what the long term may be, a recommendation to move forward with a statement of interest. As you know, being on the Center Elementary School Building Committee, that process can run anywhere from a 6 to 10-year process to a building.
Yeah.
So it is really long-term thinking, but that part will not be a requirement for the MSBA process.
Okay, I just wanted, people listening to understand the process. Thank you.
Welcome.
So as we stand now, Mr. Montori, are you going to get together with Mrs. Regan to get the mission statement together?
Yes, I have the mission statement from the last time the committee was formed. I'll update it. I'll send it off to the school superintendent, committee, and business manager for their review, their input, and then I'll send it off to the board.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Very supportive. It's good work. Thank you.
All right, next up is residents. Are there any residents who would like to speak?
Kate Buckdugwill, is this on? Kate Buckdugwill, 18 Concrete Road. As Ms. Wellman mentioned earlier, I am the chair of the Tewksbury for Recreation Advocacy Group, and on behalf of our organization, all of the members of the town, as well as our co-chair, my co-chair Jennifer Dillon, our treasurer Mary Goon, who unfortunately can't be here tonight, and Miss Stephanie Breaker, who are also on our board, we'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to both Mr. Montori and Ms. Lauder for the time and effort that was put into designing this programming over the past year. We approached some of the members of the select board about a year ago, as well as Mr. Montori, for advocating for increased recreational programming within Tewksbury, and it's astounding to see government move so fast on behalf of the residents, and for that I share extreme gratitude from many members of the community. It's really encouraging and exciting to see this all come forward in the next few weeks even, so again, just so remarkable. We plan on continuing our advocacy efforts and fundraising in order to support some of these financial liabilities that some residents may be pursuing when they're facing cost of enrollment for things, and we look forward to working with the select board, the town manager, and everyone in the community to keep this moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? See none, we'll move on to new business. I don't see we have any new business. Now we're going to move on to town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one item, town council's invoice in the amount of $3,230, and I would recommend board-approved payment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Mackey, second by Mr. Ryder. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, chair votes aye as well. Motion passed 5-0. Next on the agenda, minutes. We already did those. Board member reports. We'll start with Mr. Crapton.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any board reports, but I would like to congratulate the winners of Tuesday's election, Mr. Mackey and Mr. Ryder, as well as the other members of in our community that ran for election. I appreciate them stepping up and running for office, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also going to echo the sentiment of thank you to all the residents who came out, everyone who braved that cold, rainy, windy day. We had a significant turnout, still a little lower than we would like to see for engagement, but I believe we broke 13%, which is pretty significant for us for a town election. So thank you to everyone that came out. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few quick things. Like my colleagues, I want to congratulate all of the candidates who won their elections, and welcome back, Mr. Mackey, and welcome, Mr. Ryder, to the board. It's difficult sometimes to put your name out there and run. I appreciate all of our candidates who stepped up to run, whether they ran on the ballot or they ran a write-in campaign. The more candidates we have offers an opportunity to increase the marketplace of ideas in our community, and that is always a good thing. I want to recognize that April 9th through April 15th is National Telecommunicators Week, and I would like to do a special recognition and thank you to our dispatch center and all of our partners in public safety. The work that our dispatchers do every day is incredibly valuable to our community, and they are the first voice that people hear, and they keep everybody calm, and they are able to dispatch our services at times when our residents are particularly vulnerable, and so I am thanking them for their service. And finally, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Advisory Committee will be meeting on Thursday. We are planning, among other things, our Pride Picnic, which is coming up June 2nd, and we will be doing a call for vendors and organizations that wish to participate. And at our next meeting, I'll have a more complete update. And NIMCOG meets next week as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wellman. Mr. Ryder.
Yes, thank you. To echo the other board members, again, thank you to residents that came out on Saturday. I know it was not a very nice day. I'm still warming up, as is my family. But again, through this process, I met some amazing people, other that I would not have met if I did not run. And again, thank you to the residents, and looking forward to working with the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. I'm going to reiterate, welcome back, Mr. Mackey, and welcome, Mr. Ryder. I also want to give a shout out to our town clerk, because with all the write-in votes that they had, she did a great job, and I just want to give her and her staff a shout out to say thank you for doing that. With that, we'll be moving into executive session for collective bargaining. After the executive session, we will be doing no more business other than the collective bargaining, and the meeting will be adjourned with no more public hearings or comments. So can I have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Mackey, a second by Ms. Wellman, and all those in
You have
favor
to do a roll
signify by
call.
aye.
You have to do a roll call vote. Oh, yeah.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Kratman, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Mackey?
Aye.
Ms. Wellman?
Aye.
Ms. Ryder? Mr. Ryder?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. We're now in executive session. So good night, Tewksbury. Our next meeting is on April 23rd at 7 p.m. Thank you.